WWE is still setting up the payback pay-per-view on September the 2nd, but that doesn't mean we won't get some matches before then. In fact, a highly anticipated bout took place when Gunther defended his IC title against Chad Gable. We also saw the New Day take on Drew and Riddle for a future shot at the tag titles, and Shinsuke Nakamura revealed what he said to Rollins before attacking him last week. But we started things off with Sami Zayn, who came out with a miraculous ovation from his countryman north of the border. He didn't say a word for the first 10 minutes because of the crowd chanting. After he finally welcomed us to the show, saying he interrupted by the entirety of the Judgment Day. They surrounded the ring and prepared to attack, but Kevin Owens made his return and helped Zayn clear the ring. KO and Zayn issued a challenge for a tag team match later in the show, and the Judgment Day is accepted. This was a simple start to the show, but the energy of the crowd made it all work. Kevin Owens coming back, of course, in his hometown as well, really made it, and just setting up a banger main event for later in the night. So yeah, I have to say this was really worked and great pop, and yeah, an unbelievable crowd to kick off this week's edition of Raw. So yeah, you really can't complain about this stuff. Great stuff. But it's then time for our next match, for our first match, which was New Day versus Riddle and McIntyre. And yeah, great to see New Day back in action. Shot at the title, of course, for the winner. Woods and Riddle started the match, and the former king of the ring mocked the original bro for not being a real tag team, as he and Kingston cornered him for a double team move. Riddle was never able to tag in McIntyre because Eric from the Viking Raiders pulled him off the apron and allowed the New Day to pick up the win, but they were all attacked by the Viking Raiders after. Honestly, this match was fine, but not as good as it could have been. Not allowing McIntyre to get physical under the fight, it felt like a mistake, and it all ended a little too cheap for me. This was the start of a new feud with Riddle and McIntyre against the Raiders, but it could have been a nice way to get more action. But New Day challenged him for the title, I'm not going to complain, and set something intriguing for you as well. So execution may not have been perfect, but I kind of like the way they did it, so it gets 7 out of 10 from me. It was then time for Gunther vs Gable for the IC title. WWE played a couple of promo videos about Gable and Gunther before they came to the ring for their IC title match. Both men arrived online, so it's a fair fight. The crowd chanted for Gable as they locked up, and Gunther backed into the corner. The Olympian countered and hit a quick shot to his rival, show he wasn't intimidated. The ring general then made him regret slamming him with one arm. The champ continues to dominate through the break and into the next segment. He put Gable through the ringer with stiff strikes and suplexes, but the challenger kept showing signs of life. Everyone expected this to be a great match, and Gunther and Gable didn't disappoint. They worked incredibly well together to tell a great David Lee Goliath story. After throwing into the Timekeep's area, Gable was able to beat the Cowbacks ring to get the win, but this came out. He did not win the title. Gunther lost at ringside, but the Olympian celebrated being the first person to beat him in a singles match on the main roster. This is a perfect way to keep that on Gunther while giving Gable a major win. And setting him up for maybe the person who defeats Gunther. But yeah, this worked really nicely, I have to say, and it gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Gable's only going to gain from this. Gunther looks in trouble for the first time, but still keeps his title and still hasn't been pinned. So yeah, worked brilliantly. 7 out of 10. Next up was Rhea Ripley versus Candice LeRae. After facing Lee Hartwell last week, Rhea Ripley found herself standing across the ring from Indy's adopted wrestling mum Candice. The match followed the pattern you'd expect. Ripley used her power to present her control of a smaller opponent, and LeRae would occasionally find a way to get a little offense. The bout didn't last long and ended with the Eradicator locking her in a submission for the win. Raquel Rodriguez came out and attacked Ripley before she was cleared, and the winner could get a title shot at Payback. And yeah, Ripley v Raquel, kind of a surprising way. I thought Candice get more than this. Definitely a squash match. It's worse than she deserves. So yeah, gets a 5 out of 10 for me. I wasn't a fan of that, if I'm being brutally honest. Yeah, last week I thought they were heading into a feud between these two. No offense to Raquel, but yeah, I just kind of feel like Candice wasn't treated right here, unfortunately. It was then time for The Miz versus Tozawa. The Miz came out and immediately insulted Quebec City Club by saying his wife was from Montreal and never visit Quebec. He brought out Tozawa's opponent, trading some funny insults with him to the reference and A-list feud with LA Knight. Once Knight showed up to distract The Miz, Tozawa took control and hit a big suicide dive to send the show into the break. The match instead lasted longer than expected and probably needed, but it was never a bad thing in a competitive bout, especially when it features an underused star like Tozawa. After the Knight distracted The Miz, from the table, Cesaro was able to roll him up for the win. It might not have been a memorable match, it's a fun surprise and kept the feud going with Knight. Worked really hard. Cesaro gets his first Raw win in 6 years or something crazy like that. So yeah, in a way, it was a comedy fun. And yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Good stuff, entertaining stuff. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green then took on Caden Carter and Katana Chance. Before that, Blanche was delivering a promo when she was interrupted by Kirsten Stark, and they did the usual heel thing and insulted the sister she was in, but most of the segment came off clunky as awkward. It's possible to do a late Roy White, and that maybe had something to do with it. And yeah, still the feud isn't quite clicking, but it's in time for that tag match. It's pretty short fight and ended with Niven pinning Chance after a flash. This was one step towards the squash match, but it made Niven and Green look good and a formidable duo. But yeah, Carter and Chance, obviously they were great together in NXT, and yeah, I really want to see them given more of a chance than this in the main roster, to be honest. But you know, I am a massive fan of Chelsea Green. I think she's doing good stuff at the moment. It's time for our main event, which was Cody, Sami, and KO versus the Judgment Day. Ripley dragged Balor out, and his team made a team with Priest take on Zayn and Owens. Dominic joined her eventually, and they watched as the tag champs took it to the Judgment Day. The crowd chanted Ole during the match as Priest and Balor took control. JD tried to help by throwing the Money in the Bank briefcase to Balor, but Owens caught it and hit the Irish opponent to get to the score. I appreciated it, JD, before the Judgment Day beat down the tag champs. Cody then ran down with his weight belt, sweeping the odds. We returned from the break to see the match had become a 6-man bout, with Mysterio and Rose joining their respective allies. Most of the superstars involved were skillful veterans, so all the action was needed was fun and frenetic. The crowd was invested in reacting to what happened. Gunther v Gable was the best match on the show, but these putting on in the main event made the most sense. Mace got the last 3 segments of the show, so they had more than enough time to make sure all 6 men got good time. Dom ends up taking the pin when Owens hit the stunner. Ripley looked furious that her boys lost as the winners celebrated in the ring. But yeah, this is a great show. The Judgment Day tension continues. Dom, obviously, probably the right man to take the pin as well. So yeah, it all gets 7 out of 10 for me. I thought this worked really nicely. Good stuff. Overall, Raw this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. I thought it was a solid episode of Raw this week, I have to say. Lots going on as we slowly build toward Payback. I thought really insane main event. The crowd was on absolute fire. Brilliant 6-man tag main event. So yeah, on the whole, a really good episode and just 6 out of 10 from me. But anyway, guys, that's it really. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe for daily wrestling news and subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.